SecretAssignment.com. Team Schlecke back.
Here we are.
Been on assignment for several weeks. Secret assignment.
Yeah.
Studying laws in foreign countries.
There you go. Bill Schlecke, Laura Dwyer.
How's
Jackie's
Jackie?
in the building.
Thank
Jackie
God.
did a very
'cause
nice job.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from several people. And maybe we don't need to do the show. It's just
Well,
Jackie.
that's,
Should be the Jackie show.
That's your decision.
I'm gonna have to. I haven't even had a chance to listen.
Jackie will probably pass on that.
I haven't even had a chance to listen to the video or watch the video of it.
Boy, you are busy.
So,
Man.
well,
It was a busy holiday, I will say that.
Okay.
Okay? There's no doubt about that.
so
What's up?
what's up, Bill? What's up?
You tell me, I indicated to you, you might want to talk about the changes to Michigan's foreclosure law on mortgages. What's happening with it? You tell me. I'm open to any subject, but that might be inappropriate one.
Did you have a subject you wanted us to talk about?
Not really.
Okay. Well, then let's do it.
All right.
Let's jump right into that.
Okay, well, you know that the prior, or the existing law, or the existing law till January 9, said that if a mortgage company started a foreclosure on you, that it was required to send a notice out that if you sent a demand letter back to the lender, that it had to delay the foreclosure for 90 days to allow a period of time to you to negotiate with the lender to see if you could reach a loan modification agreement. And so that delayed the foreclosure for 90 days, which was a great asset to the borrower. That law
But that
has-
was added, though. That wasn't
Yeah.
in the original law.
that wasn't in the original law. That
It was added as a result of the crash in
Yeah,
2008. Was it added in 08?
it was
Or
added in
9?
2009.
Okay.
Yeah, it was added in 2009. Had a sunset date of
The
I think
14th?
December 31. Well, originally I think December 31, but it got extended. It expired under the new law as of January 9. It's extended actually to, I think it's June 30, but it only applies. It only applies to mortgage foreclosures initiated on or before January 9, 2014. In other words, if a mortgage foreclosure is instituted beginning on January 10 of this year, which was a few weeks ago, no longer, that 90-day delay no longer applies to lenders generally.
So would
There's-
lenders,
There's one carve-out, which I'll talk to you about in a minute.
so do you think lenders postponed foreclosures in order to avoid that 90 days?
I haven't thought about that, but I guess it's possible that they, if you're close to starting a foreclosure January 9 versus January 10, if I'm representing a lender, I'm going to say wait till January 10, unless it's one of these carve-out lenders that I'll talk about. But I would delay until January.
And nothing affects my ability to foreclose or the bank's ability to foreclose if they wait a week or something like that?
10. No, usually not. And in fact, the new law provides additional rights to the lenders to be able to accelerate the period of redemption once the sale takes place. And I'll talk about that in a minute if we have a
I've
chance
seen,
to.
seems to me, Jackie, I don't know if you agree with this, but it seems to me I've seen more foreclosures come up on the market. But I don't know if that just looks that way because there's not as many owner occupied or normal people, whether it's owner occupied or a landlord, but our investor, but maybe there's fewer of those on the market and it just seems like there's more
There are only
foreclosures.
861 listings on the market right now.
861 listings on the market. Is that a low number?
Yeah, I normally we're around 1,200.
Normally
Wow.
1,200, so you only have 2/3 the number of listings. Why is that?
Don't know.
Oh, look, there's a microphone.
Yeah, I mean that seems odd. How?
Well, it could be the weather. I mean, this
Well, it's-
weather is really,
Been that way for about 3 months.
yeah.
So.
So-
Holidays, that, you had Thanksgiving, Christmas, and now you got hit with the polar vortex.
The third one. So
Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Polar.
The PV, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we were in other climates for 2 of those. We're only experiencing the third one, and I'm thinking about going back. As a matter of fact, coming back to Michigan.
You got
for
pretty
this,
tan while you were on assignment.
I did, didn't I? Yeah. A lot of my work was
Yeah,
outdoors.
we were suffering here
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
do look rather
in
pale
the
and
frozen
wan.
tundra.
Yeah, no, there was a newsletter put out weekly where we were on the holiday, and I read it this Saturday, and there's a tongue-in-cheek article about the fact that last week, one night, the temperature dipped all the way to 74 degrees, so the locals had to put on jackets and hats. It was so cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, normal temperatures are 76, 77 at night, and 83, 84 during the day, so it's an ideal place to go. So anyway, back to the mortgage. So Jackie, let me ask you the question. So, but the actual number, the pure number of mortgage foreclosures is fairly stable?
I don't remember that number.
Okay.
She doesn't remember that
Right,
number.
but my experience is that foreclosures, just from a lawyer's point of view, representing people who are subject to foreclosures, particularly commercial transactions, is those foreclosures are way down. That the bubble has worked its way
Well,
all the
I
way
think
through the system.
foreclosures are down a lot, but I'm just saying the houses that I'm seeing come on the market, I'm seeing
I-
more foreclosures.
Yeah, I think the percentage is probably about the same,
Right.
but because of the lack of other listings, we notice the foreclosures more.
More, right,
So.
and that's what I was wondering, so.
All right, yeah, while you were talking, I was just verifying that the new law amends the 90-day law, the 90-day negotiation period. It extends the sunset date to June 30, 2014, and now I'm reading from an article. However, the requirements of the 90-day law will not apply to foreclosures by advertisement initiated after January 9, 2014. As such, the 90-day pre-foreclosure negotiation process will only continue until January 9, 2014. After January 9, 2014, mortgage servicers will be required to comply with the new federal loss mitigation procedures implemented by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is what actually, Greg, you and I talked about before we left on vacation in December, the ones that are going to reduce.
Do you remember that, Greg?
Remember that conversation?
I'm sure you
This is
do.
the new federal.
Vaguely.
All right, this is the new federal law. This is the new federal law that is imposing more stringent requirements on mortgage lenders and servicers.
Oh, you know what,
With respect to qualification of borrowers, which they figure is
Well,
going
we've
to
been-
Bill
Because-
Jors talked about that on Tuesday.
We've been talking about that for
Yeah.
about 2 months.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so that's what's going into effect, and those loss mitigation procedures apply only to 5 servicers. Those are the 5 biggies, which are, I
Well,
just had that, Ally/GMAC,
yeah,
Bank of America,
Chase.
City Mortgage, JP Morgan Chase, and Wells Fargo.
Fargo, yeah.
The loss mitigation procedures do not apply to any other banks, including small servicers. and
Which means
community
they
banks.
have to continue with the 90 days?
No, the 90 days does not apply to anybody. And the only reason the 5 servicers are subject to it is because they signed an agreement.
Okay, so
a
you just
settlement
lost
agreement.
me. The five
That
big boys.
90 days does not apply to the state law delaying the foreclosure for 90 days. Does not apply to any lenders anymore. The
Zero,
only- Zero
okay.
lenders.
Okay.
The 5 biggies are subject to the federal loss mitigation procedures or protocols. That's by the federal government. That does require those lenders to enter into good faith negotiations for loan modification under the federal rules, not under the state rules. So the state 90-day process is gone as of January 9, 2014.
And I don't know that it's a necessary thing at this point. I mean, if we've been dealing with foreclosures for so long now, that if you've got problems paying your mortgage, you need to be, you should know by now to start talking to your bank.
Yeah,
Deal with it.
here's what the federal law requires those 5 servicers to do. And again, I'm quoting from the article. These servicers are then required to send a written notice to the homeowner that contains 1, name, address, telephone number, and email of the designated agent for the servicer, and 2, a statement informing the homeowner that within 30 days, the homeowner may contact the designated agent either directly or through a housing counselor to request a meeting with the designated agent to attempt to work out a loan modification to avoid foreclosure. Again, that applies only to the 5 biggies, does not apply to the local banks, the community banks, etc. Okay, that state law is gone. The new state law that actually has some impact is this shortening of the foreclosure period if the lender can show or demonstrate to the court that the homeowner is causing damage to the property. And the new law allows the lender, after the foreclosure sale, and I have a period
They
of
couldn't do that
redemption.
before?
No.
I mean, isn't it in your mortgage that you must maintain the property?
Yeah, you have to maintain it, but there's
it
no
didn't
statute, there's
it
no
didn't
statutory.
accelerate it?
There's no statutory right to inspection, and there was no acceleration of the period of redemption in the event that the lender could show that there was
And
damage.
that's for all banks?
It's for all lenders, all mortgages, and any mortgage
I wonder who will
foreclosure.
abuse that system.
I don't know. I mean, look, there's a balance here, and I think, you've got the rights of the homeowner, but on the other hand, I mean, you know the horror stories as much as I do about the homeowners who've literally
Strip these
stripped
properties.
the property of
I don't think we
everything.
see it quite as much, if at all. I can't remember the last foreclosure I was in that
Kitchens are always stripped, but other than that, it's not that bad.
kitchens are always stripped, Jackie said.
Yeah, but again, you're also, you're getting anecdotal experience too, or anecdotal stories from people here that, other realtors, et cetera. But this is a very rampant problem.
Well,
in
it
this
may be
industry.
worse in different parts of the
It
country.
Bill,
than
what
it
about
is
these
in
new
Jackson.
federal regulations
gonna
that,
make it more difficult.
well, it apparently gives the borrower an opportunity to sue the lender because the borrower is a bad borrower.
Because the lender gave them a
Because-
loan where the debt was over 43% of their income.
Well,
Yeah. And then if they sue,
now that's gotta hurt your industry.
well, it is gonna, you're not gonna work with anybody who has not been pre-approved. I mean, and we've gotten used to that anyway, because when foreclosure started, banks required, before foreclosures, we would work with people and then they'd go get pre-approved, and, sometimes they'd be pre-approved, but it wasn't a regular basis. Then banks came along and said, foreclosures said, we aren't even gonna look at an offer without a pre-approval letter from the lender. So now we're all used to, your client has to have that pre-approval letter.
Okay.
So it's just gonna be even that more important that you're not gonna show anybody a house until they've gone to the bank.
But
At
I think the lawsuits you're talking about go hand in hand with the new federal loss mitigation rules, which are intended to prevent lenders from making loans to suspect borrowers. That's the whole purpose of these new rules. And to the extent that banks.
That's been pretty much
don't you
cleaned up
think
though, right?
But don't you think part of it is?
Yeah, I think those federal rules
But part
clean
of it
that up
is-
and make it more, I mean, again, this is a balance. Do they go some people will say they go too far by now making it too stringent.
Right.
The requirements are too stringent, but others say, hey, look, this needed to get cleaned up for a while because the real estate crash happened by virtue of the fact that loans were being made willy-nilly to just about anybody who made an application, irrespective
Well, it's
of
making
the
the bank
qualifications.
accountable. Because it's the bank, from what I understood from listening to Bill Jors on Tuesday, the bank is gonna be the one who's gonna give up the interest. Is that right? Is the penalty the bank loses?
I don't know the answer. I don't know what the
I
penalty
think that's
is
what
under
I heard,
federal
but I
law.
don't,
Well, the borrower can sue the bank.
yeah. And
To
the penalty is
to get out of the loan on the basis that.
out of the loan or, no, out of not paying interest on the
And
loan.
I'll have to check with Bill when he comes in, but
Okay.
I don't know if this is it just 43%?
Your debt can't be higher than 40%.
Your
Okay.
total
Are
indebtedness,
there
not
other-
just the mortgage debt, your
Your
credit card
total,
debt, your car
everything.
loan, everything. The total amount of indebtedness that you have cannot exceed 43%. That's the
Of
new rule.
gross or net income?
Gotta
you
be
know?
gotta be your net income, because it's whatever money you have to spend. It's not the amount of money that you collect before taxes. It's
This
after
is why I
taxes.
connect buyers with good lenders, because that's not, I know enough. I know more than the average person, but on lending, but,
You know more than the average bear?
yeah,
Never.
but which I should, but that's the lender's responsibility. What else on that foreclosure loan? Anything else?
Well, the new state, yeah, I mean.
So how do you think that's gonna affect homeowners? As a result of the lack of the 90 days, what do you think?
From the perspective of a lawyer who doesn't represent banks, who represents, as I say, borrowers, they're mostly commercial borrowers, so it has absolutely no effect because a 90-day applied only to the personal residence. And to those people who are the borrower with respect to a personal residence, it makes life more difficult, but is it devastating? No. It just removes 90 days that they could have stayed in the property that they no longer have, or 90 days that they would have been able to sell the property, 90 days more in which to try and sell the property, but overall, I don't think it makes that much difference. You know, the old law was in effect for a long, long time. This 90-day window was intended to allow them to work out modifications with lenders. The problem was that the borrower was underwater and doing a modification was very, very difficult. Now, there is a new federal program, HARP, the Home Affordable, well, HARP is relatively, you had HAFA, you had HAMP, then HAFA, and then now HARP is the most recent federal iteration for doing a
It's been around a
modification.
while.
Yeah, it's been around. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
but I mean,
renovated, or renovated,
Yeah, but I mean, that
revised.
is the program now, that is the federal program, it's no longer HAMP, it's no longer HAFA, it's Home Affordable Refinance Program, I think is what.
Well, it's a good thing they think of names that can come into an acronym
Right, that you can actually say,
right.
right? But the.
What
so-
would we be without our acronyms,
So
right?
removal in 90 days, I don't see as particularly significant.
Yeah, I don't see that, and not now.
The more significant change is the right of the lender to come in, inspect the property on a reasonable notice, and to do it more than once on a, you can do it as long as it's quote reasonable, end quote.
Do they have to give them like a written notice?
Yeah.
Like we do as a landlord, we can't just go into our tenant's property, we have to give them written reasonable notice, or does it tell them how many, 48 hours, 24 hours?
I didn't bring the statute with me, I do have a copy, but the purchaser at the foreclosure sale does have the right to inspect the exterior and interior of the property, and any other structures, if there's a pole barn or a garage or anything, periodically throughout the redemption period. And yes, they send written notice. And then if the inspection, the homeowner then has to respond to that if the inspection is unreasonably refused. And there's an issue as to what the word unreasonably is supposed to mean, and Governor Snyder was concerned about this particular use of the word unreasonable and wanted to have some definition added to it. But if the inspection is unreasonably refused, or if damage to the property is imminent or has occurred, the purchaser of the sale can immediately begin eviction proceedings. And this is
So
new in
that's
the
an
statute.
eviction proceeding, that's gotta be 30 days, right?
The
Or it could be
oh,
7.
The eviction proceeding is, I file my summary proceedings, I set it up for the following Tuesday morning, and I may be entitled, the judge may give me my judgment on that date, and writ of restitution or writ of eviction can issue 10 days thereafter if the damage isn't corrected. The statute does allow for the borrower to correct the damage, and if it is cured, then the original redemption period continues, which is usually 6 months. But the statute sets that forth, and if the
So what's
if
the
district-
shortest period, if everything fell the way, if it were a perfect world and it fell in place, what's the shortest period you could have for an eviction?
I could probably do it within a matter of weeks after the foreclosure sale. If I buy at a foreclosure sale, the property is now damaged or damage is imminent, I immediately file my action in the district court. District judge issues a judgment, and I could even get the period of eviction shortened if I can show that there is
And a
in fact
purchaser
imminent
at
damage.
foreclosure sale could be somebody other than a bank, and this applies
Yes.
to that person also?
It
Not
applies
just
to
a
whoever the
bank?
purchaser is at the
Okay.
foreclosure sale.
Well,
yeah.
we have to wrap it up.
Okay.
I'm seeing signs that it's time. We have a shortage of listings in the market, and I have a shortage of listings, so I would encourage anyone who's considering putting their house on the market either in the near future or the far future, call me. I would love to help you make the right decision. 780-3800, or you can go to our website, thinkingrealestate.com.